There you go.
Right.
There's no one there.
Yeah. Be patient.
Yeah, I know this. I'm just telling you. That's why I'm silent. Do you have an... Hello. Thank you for joining us. We've got one person in the house. Just going to wait until a few people come in and then we'll be talking to you soon. Hello to everyone who's joining in. Welcome to Pi Radio's Masterclasses. Guys, let me know who's here. Message me. You got a comments box. Ugh, listen to me, I can't even speak. A comment box below. Let me know who's in the room. Hello to everyone who's joining. Come on, let's get some waves going on. Waves, yo, wagwan, all of that. Let me know who's in the room. Thank you guys for joining us. Got an important guest waiting already. Still no hellos. Okay, hello Ben. Hello. More people joining. That's good. That's really positive, guys. We'll start up in like a few minutes or so. Welcome to today's masterclass. I've only got one hello. Okay, here we go. Whitley, another hello. Hi. Hi, guys. It's me. Hi. More hellos. This is nice. Just going to be waiting, guys, just for a few minutes, just to get a few people, give everyone a chance to kind of get in, and then we'll get going. Where are we all from? What are we saying? Are we Manchester-based? Love that. Got my paper out, ready to learn. Me too. Pen in my hands. Me too. I always find it hard to make notes, though, during the sessions, because I'm like trying to listen. I'm trying to multitask too much. But I'm glad you're ready to learn. Manchester, bop, MCR, all of that. Yeah, people are starting to join, so that's nice, that's good. Round 2, let's go. Yes, Matilda, how are you? So for everyone who's just joining right now, guys, hello. I'm just basically waiting for a few people to join in the live before we get started. Our guest is already here, ready. So if you don't have your piece of paper, if you're not ready to learn, like you need to get ready. If you got a few minutes to get yourself prepared, we'll get going. It's like 34 past now, so we get going real soon.
Keep quiet today.
Guys, as per usual, I've got a helper in the room. As per usual. So if you see me looking at somebody, I've probably got someone doing this at me, waving at me. Hello, guys. Right, yeah, we're going to get started real soon, probably in the next minute, to be honest with you. Hope everyone's well, guys. Again, we're about to get going. If you feel like, you know a friend, in fact, even if you feel like you don't know a friend who might find this useful, they are going to find it useful when it gets started. So share it, tell a friend, tell your brother, all of that. Probably get started in like 1 more minute, guys. So actually, I'm not sure if it's just me, there's a lot of feedback. Okay, right, my helpers got involved. They're going to be helping me out there. Is that any better? I feel like that's better already. Okay. Got it. It's okay. No, it's okay. That's what we need. Like, let us know. Okay, but it's about time to get going, actually, guys. So, like I said, yeah, so much better. Wonderful. So, It's your girl Queen Tan Tan. You're here locked into Pi Radio. Thank you guys for joining us so much. Thank you guys for taking your time. Guys, I don't know what's been happening to me. I feel like because I've been in quarantine, I'm so not used to talking to people. And all of a sudden, I'm just like tripping over my words. But thank you so much for joining. Today's masterclass is about production, radio production. So, like I said, get your pen, get your paper, get ready. Tell your friend, tell a friend, tell your sister, tell your brother, tell your dad, the whole shebang. Tweet us if you've got any comments, any questions. Let us know. In the comments box, you've got DM on us on Instagram, you've got our Twitter handle, all of that at Pi Radio UK. So without further ado, I think I'm just gonna add our guest in there. So bear with me, guys. Okay, let's go. Hello.
Hi, how's it going? You're right.
I'm fine. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now we've got a few people and they've already got their notepads, so they're expecting they're expecting real gems, which I know you can deliver. So guys, this is Dari, and you have worked at you've worked in radio for a long time, years in fact, years of experience. But currently you're working as an editor at One Extra, am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So any more to introduce yourself? Today I found out that you love art. You love art. Do you
What
make
else
it?
you found out? Break it down. You've done your little online snooping.
Okay. Well, I also found out you're married.
Yeah.
Which is cute. You've done a lot of traveling.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that they're my top two things. I was more really fascinated with art, and like we've got a few. You like Nipsey Hussle, I think, or do you just like pictures of Nipsey Hussle? I'm gonna take it that you like Nipsey Hussle.
I think you're making stuff up now.
Am I making stuff up? You don't like Nipsey Hussle? You don't have to
Yeah,
like
I
Nipsey
do.
Hussle. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. Okay, cool. Yeah. But do you want to introduce yourself better than I can?
Okay. I'm Dari Samuels. I'm an editor at One Extra, BBC Radio One Extra. The role's kind of, it used to be called like executive producer. So basically, I'm in charge of a team of 15 production staff. They're responsible for delivering, producing all the daytime radio shows on Radio One Extra. They run across the daytime schedule from 7 days a week. So my teams produce 80 hours of radio each week. So I kind of lead that team of producers, assistant producers, content assistants, to deliver shows that hopefully excite and engage with the young audience that we're trying to get.
I love that. Dari, I love listening to that, but I don't know if you can see the comment box. Like, people are getting a lot of crackles. So, Solomon has told me that I'm going to time out, guys. Give us, like, literally 5 minutes to just sort this out. We're having a really bad audio problem, so bear with us, everybody. Yeah. Sorry, everyone.
Cool.
Yeah. Can't mute guys because they chose to mute them. So alright, okay, go back in.
Oh. Hello, guys. We're back. Right, we're just hopefully sorting this out. Sorry, guys. Yeah, hopefully we're back. We're gonna try again. So I'm gonna try add my guest back in right now, and hopefully we have anything better. Guys, keep letting us know if you're really struggling. Okay, should we add my guest back? Hi, Dari.
Hello. Can you hear me? How am I sounding?
Ooh,
No, your face is saying you're not feeling
It's not working. I don't know. We just did a sound check. It sounded really good.
Cool. Mic check. No, your face is giving me that grimace face.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I want to give you a better face, but
Hang on.
okay.
Right, sure. Is
Is that any better? Can you hear
Yay! Yeah.
that better?
Yes.
me? Okay. I'll
Perfect.
keep switching between ports. All right, cool.
Okay, yeah,
Cool.
we're great. Yeah, we're back. Can you
Cool.
put my comments back? So just talking to my helper. Yeah, thank you. All right, cool. Sorry, guys. Can everyone hear him better? Dari, do you want to say something else?
Yo, I'm a bars. Yo, mic check. 1, 2, 2. Pi radio.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah.
Guys, for everyone who,
Cool.
sorry for that technical difficulties. Just to recap, you're here with me, Queen Tantan, on Pi Radio. And this is the masterclass. This is the radio production masterclass. And today we've got a special guest, Dari. Whoa! We've got a special guest, Dari, in the building who has worked in radio production for years. And right now he is an editor at One Extra. Right. So, sorry, Dari. Could you introduce yourself all over again?
Yeah, I'm an editor at One Extra. Used to be called like exec producer. And I lead a team of 15 production staff to deliver all the daytime shows on One Extra. So that's 80 hours of radio each week. Yeah, so I kind of work with producers, assistant producers, content assistants. They're responsible for working with presenters to broadcast shows and make content that engages and excites young audiences across the UK.
Okay, sounds good. Guys, I'm sure we're all familiar with One Extra, and I think, to be fair, I would like to think, maybe, if you are kind of like young and into radio, I guess One Extra is kind of one of them like flagship stations that we all look to, that we've all listened to, that we all kind of like, it's quite high profile, kind of maybe aspire to get on or aspire to work with or something like that. So definitely, guys, if you've got any questions, this is your time to ask. You got first-hand experience here for free at Pi Radio. So firstly, how did you get into it? How did it happen? Tell us the story.
It's really weird because lots of people have really long stories about how they got into
I don't
radio.
know what is going on again. We're getting that feedback again, so it's not that. It's all right. But it was not as bad as last time. So just I don't know what you did before.
Hello, is that better? No.
Let me try and mute myself when you talk.
How is that doing? How is that going? Am I sounding better now? No.
Yeah, Dari. You were good again. So
Hello?
Hello. Radiant Film said the return of the crackle. I know, guys. Sorry, guys. Bear with us. Oh gosh. He doesn't have it. Do you have a microphone, Dari?
No.
You can just unplug whatever. You can just unplug it and just speak. Hello?
How's that?
Yeah, good.
Hello. Is that
Yeah,
any
good. Yeah, that's good.
Cool.
Hopefully, we're really sorry. Hopefully that this is we're not gonna have these problems again. But we're really, really sorry.
Cool.
Okay. Third time's a charm. Third time's a charm.
So how did I get into radio? I suppose I grew up in music was always playing in the house. So I had older sisters who always played music. My parents always listened to the radio. So music's always been a part of my life. I've always been a big fan of music. At school, I was a guy that used to kind of make compilation tapes for friends. And I suppose as I got older, as I went to college and uni, I got into DJing. At uni, I got involved with setting up a student radio station. So I had a little radio show for a year when I was at uni. And then after I graduated, I got a normal sort of 9-to-5 job But I was still kind of active outside of work. I continued with my DJing. I did a bit of music journalism, writing for websites and magazines about music. And then a friend of mine, one of my close friends, is a rapper. So at the time, I used to help him run his independent record label. So I was mailing out records and writing press releases and sort of working out marketing plans for record releases. So I was kind of active. It was very much, music was a passion I had. It was a hobby. And back in 2002, when Extra was just about to launch, they were looking for production staff to make up their sort of production team in launching the show and delivering the shows. So I applied for that. There was an advert in like the Guardian newspaper. I applied for that. There was an application form. There were 2 job interviews and a music quiz you had to kind of pass. And luckily, I was one of the people that got selected. So I think there were about 60 jobs that were initially advertised, and I think they got like 1,500 applications. So, you know, for every role, there was like 25 people applied for it. So I was one of the people that got selected, and that's my way in. I entered as like a broadcast assistant, which is entry-level role, which is working alongside a team of assistant producers and producers. And I worked on the Extra Breakfast Show when the station launched. And yeah, that was my way in, really. But I think my hobbies and interests outside of work kind of gave me the skills, experience, and expertise that the station was looking for when they were looking to hire production staff for the station. So although I was doing stuff unpaid, I was using that as an opportunity to develop skills that would be useful. Well, I guess they thought they were useful when it came to looking for staff to hire for the station.
Great. So I'm thinking maybe inside this chat, guys, let me know if I'm wrong or what, like let me know who's in here. But I'm guessing that everyone who's in here, we've got some people who maybe kind of like have radio as like a hobby or a passion, and they're just trying to make it like either from a passion to a hobby or from a hobby into like some way to make money. So that bridges really nicely into my next question, which you already kind of started to answer at the end there, of like what transferable skills do you think that you actually had that was very useful in getting that job?
I think the thing for me is with my hobbies, I took my hobbies seriously, and also because they were hobbies, there wasn't that pressure to necessarily deliver straight away. Particularly the things I was doing, which were useful. I was writing articles and writing content for music websites and magazines. So that's developing my like journalistic skills, interviewing skills, even just building rapport with strangers, because you're gonna, you know, ask them, hey, do you want to be interviewed? And it was up and coming artists and producers. And it's that developing that skill of how to introduce yourself, building rapport with someone, and then getting a good interview or great responses to questions when it comes to interviews. So that's what, you know, so that aspect of my hobbies, I was developing those kind of skills. As a DJ, I guess it allowed me to work on just the manipulation of audio and knowing how to like program music. So when you're doing a DJ set, you're kind of mapping out musically a journey that you want to take listeners on, and then mixing skills, cutting, scratching, and mixing, your sort of manipulating audio, editing it together. So these are things that you're by DJ, you're already starting to think in terms of how can I put songs together in a way that is pleasing to the ear for the people listening. And being a live DJ in those live clubs and bars, you're having to respond in a live situation to audience response. So when you play a tune and everyone stops dancing, you kind of learn, okay, there's that live pressure of, all right, I need to act to win people back. So I guess when you're doing live radio, again, it's that understanding that everything I'm doing, people are going to react to in different ways. And how do I keep people engaged throughout a show or a segment of the show? And every little thing I do has an impact, from what I choose to do, how I choose to do it, whether that's music, whether that's speech, whether talking on the mic, all those things have an impact on how people kind of enjoy the experience you're kind of giving them. So that's DJing. So all these different elements of hobbies ultimately gave me skills which I ended up using in radio. I've growing up, it wasn't my ambition to work in radio or to work at a radio station. I was a music fan, and I suppose that passion for music is ultimately what got me into music radio. And I guess I approach radio production from the perspective of a music fan, and thinking from the listener's point of view of what would they appreciate, what would they value, as opposed to what could we do, what could I put on the radio. It's more what would be of most benefit to the audience, what would they appreciate most as fans of music or fans of the station.
Yes, thank you so much. That was a really good answer. Already, we had some, guys, if you've got notepads out, I've already got 2 tips that you gave there already. Take your hobby seriously. So that, I think that's a really nice way to propel yourself into something. Prepare yourself, take your hobbies really seriously. And building a rapport, we'll touch on that question. We'll touch on that a bit later. But you're already getting onto another bit there of just kind of producing and exactly what you're thinking when you're thinking about being on radio and exactly how you look at radio. So if you could define being a radio producer, what would you say?
At the BBC, the producer is the one that's ultimately responsible for what comes out of the speakers. So you're kind of a leader of a team to kind of deliver some good stuff out of the speakers. And so that's working with production staff and with the presenter. And if you kind of look at a radio show as kind of like a journey, an audio journey that you're trying to take listeners on, your role is kind of like the sat nav, providing kind of like a direction to get you from the start to the end of the show. So you're there to kind of identify a route based on what the presenter's skills are, what the audience needs. You kind of identify hazards as they come up, and when your presenter takes a wrong turn, you rather than just cuss them, you kind of provide the route that redirects them back on course. So that's the kind of way I like to view production. And with that sat nav kind of analogy, there's more than one route to get from point A to point B, and there are so many different ways to approach producing a radio show. So it's about knowing what the audience wants, what motivates and drives your presenter, what their skills and expertise and areas of strength are, and how you bring that together with what you and your production team have to offer to deliver a radio show that's worth listening to.
Very good. I really like that analogy. I remember I was waiting to see if you were going to remember that analogy, and if you wasn't, I was going to remind you of that analogy. Very, very good analogy, and I like that you're answering, in ways that it's quite easy to. I'm picturing myself. It makes it very easy to put them skills into play. So that's really good. You've got your first question, your first live question, shall I say, and that is from Whitney, and it says, "Do radio stations these days favour qualifications or experience for entry-level radio production jobs?"
It's difficult to have a blanket answer for that. I think when you're trying to get into radio stations, they'll have different needs based on what they're trying to achieve, who they're trying to attract as listeners, and what the demands are from a day to day. When you're trying to get into places, it's worth bearing in mind the perspective of the radio station in terms of, if they've got a work experience or a scheme, or even if it's they need help, are they more likely to go for someone who has experience, who they know who's done the job before, to fill that gap that they may need? Or are they going to sort of take a punt on someone who they see with potential, or perhaps who's done a course and is looking for that first opportunity? And when you're in a competition between, if you're down to 2 people and one's got experience and one hasn't, and employers is probably going to be leaning towards someone who's tried and tested. So it's always that thing about people wanting to get experience, but how do you get experience if you don't get your first opportunity? So I think in trying to get that experience in production, you just have to find a way in, not necessarily to a radio station that you love, but an opportunity wherever that is. And sometimes, luckily, there's platforms and software at home that allow you to not even need to work at a radio station to develop those skills, which would be valued by a radio station. If you now have this free audio editing software like Audacity, where you at home can edit together something which is a radio show or a podcast. On your phone, you can record your speech. You can download tracks from the internet, and using free editing software, you can edit together a piece of audio, which ultimately could be a radio show. So the approach you use to delivering or making that is the same approach that you would use if you were given that opportunity at a radio station. So it's about gaining experience where you can, and then learning how to sell that to the radio stations that you want to work at. So when they ask you, do you have experience in radio? You can say, I'm experiencing of editing quality hour-long pieces of musical reflection, whether it's a sonic journey through the sounds of hip hop, or I put together a half-hour little mini documentary about the music scene in my area. So you are developing and have evidence, that portfolio of work to say, look, this is what I've already done. We have the tools now where you can practice at home without necessarily needing someone to open the door for you at a big institution.
Yes. That was really good, and actually answers a lot of the questions that you already had. Like, there was a lot of questions that coming up, about work experience, and I like what you were saying there about just, again, it goes back to what you said earlier about taking that hobby seriously, looking at it as like, I am building my portfolio, looking at it as what would I show somebody, to say, okay, well, I've not worked at this station yet, but I can do this, and I've shown that in what I'm doing. So again, really practical tips. You've got loads of questions about work experience that are just coming through here, so I'll read a few of them, but I feel like you've already started to kind of answer the question. But hi Dari, if you are a black music specialist presenter, how do you get attention from BBC One Extra? For DJ Harvey, I'll come back to that question.
What kind of attention? Again, it all depends what kind of attention you're looking for from a station. If it's like, I want a job on air, it's like, I think it's really competitive. In the same way it's competitive in the production side of things. As a presenter, there's so many people trying to get that first opportunity in. And, as an editor, and even when I was producing shows, I would try my best to keep an ear out, an eye out for up and coming talent. But there is so many people trying to get your attention, and a lot of them, their passion is better than their ability, or their confidence is better than their competence. So in terms of getting, if you're a presenter and you're wanting that shot, the thing I tell up and coming presenters is, firstly, if you're looking for to get a slot on the station, who do you see on the station currently that you're better than? Because normally the only way you get a chance to host a show is if someone decides to leave and there's a gap to fill, or there's someone out there who is clearly offers something more valuable or better than something that's currently on air. So if you really want to get on a particular station, you've got to look at their roster and think, am I really better than these guys? Because if they do boot one of these people out and put me in, you don't want to be in a situation where the audience on your first show is begging for the old presenter to come back. So you must believe and truly be better than what they have. And also part of showing you're better is building support. So often, self-praise isn't normally a recommendation. I often get more interested in people when I hear other people talking about them rather than them talking about themselves. So if I see loads of or people I respect talking about someone, or on my timeline I'm seeing whether it's a track by an artist or whether it's a new creative who's making noise, if I see other people excited about them, and then I'm more likely to take an interest rather than someone saying I'm great, because that's what everyone does. Everyone
bigs themselves
is
up.
trying to get that attention of the decision makers. So I get, musically, I get sent probably about 20 tracks a day, and I don't even present a radio show. I get people atting me, and I understand they're trying to get my attention, but it's more valuable when other people are talking about you rather than you talking about yourself.
Okay. While we're still on this, while we're still on this topic of just entering, I'm just going to read a few questions, if that's okay, before we move on, that are all associated with this. So there's this one that's come through on the comments, and then I've got some that came through on the questionnaires. So this one is: do you think winning a presentation award like Student Radio Award will help get into the BBC One Extra? So that's that question. I'll let you answer that one before I say the other ones.
I think, again, awards help show that you're at a certain level, but winning an award of itself, won't open doors. You've got to find a way to use your talents and your successes to build your brand and influence the decision makers. And I'm just thinking, for me personally, if I got approached by anyone from any industry and said, and they came in with their award, like, hey, look at me, I'm special, I'd be thinking, why are they so concerned about pushing the awards, and why aren't they talking about what they themselves offer, rather than this is what I achieved, this is what I'm about, this is what drives me, this is what I can offer you. So awards show that other people have rated you, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a fit for the station I work for. So it's about, I think a lot of it is about nurturing relationships and keeping in touch with the people you want to influence and keeping them updated about your growth, your development. And it's funny, on social media, I often feel like I'm being groomed by up and coming talent all the time. So what happens, I'll get like a follow, then in a day or two I get like a like of something, maybe even a comment, and I know what's coming. There's going to be an ask coming, but they're trying to be slick, and eventually it comes to can you play my track, or can I get a job? And it's like, you have to be a bit more clever than that, because I know why a lot of people want to get in contact with me, but what I rarely get is people asking me just for advice, tips, or feedback on what they're doing. They're always wanting the end goal. Give me a job, as opposed to something which might actually be more valuable and something that they might need more, which is advice.
Yeah, you know what? That was really good. We were laughing in the studio here. That is, I think, something that maybe people have not considered on the other side, because I think if you're asking someone or approaching someone, you're probably thinking from your point of view, but you never stop to consider the person that you are asking, what they're thinking behind, how many people ask them on things like that. So I think that was really, really useful once again. Guys, I really hope you guys have got, you got big up yourself, Dari, real talk. I hope you guys have got like your pen and paper, because this is some real gems that you wouldn't hear someone else tell you. So I think, just to wrap this up, I think this is a good question that I'm going to pick here. What are top 3 things that you look for an applicant, like top 3 things that someone said when you look for an applicant when hiring? I know you've touched on a few things, but if you could bullet point it into top 3 things there, I think that's a good question.
It really depends on what the role is. I think.
Okay, sorry. Ben John has said presenter or producer. So there you go.
What I look for is, can they do the job? Like, if you can say, hey, Dari, you're looking for this, and I've already done this before. Look, check this out. Then I'm confident that you can actually do what we need you to do. So again, it's about building that portfolio of work so you can demonstrate, rather than a picture of the award that you've won, an audio file which demonstrates you can create great audio. I'm looking for a certain amount of drive, so that a proactiveness, a kind of willingness to pursue your ideas and make stuff happen. And I'm always looking for like new ideas and things, like someone that will come up with things that will excite me. When it comes to like most radio ideas, most things have been done before. It's very difficult to find really exciting new ideas. And what excites me is when people come up with new approaches to delivering the same old stuff, which is music and speech, or supporting a music scene, or showcasing talent. It's like, are you actually bringing something new? Or do you just want a chance because you enjoy doing what you do? It's fine wanting to pursue something you enjoy, but when I'm hiring, I'm looking for the person that can do the most for my radio station. So those are the kind of things that I'm looking for. It's like, have they got the track record? Do they have the creative ideas? Do they have that drive?
Love that, guys. I don't know how many places you go where you'll be able to just get the honesty, like plain and simple. So guys, again, get your pens out. This has been really good. Keep sharing, guys, and thank you so much for joining. Okay, so earlier we spoke, by the way, you've got a comment there. I'll put it on the screen for you so you can see all your love that you're getting here. So much good advice. Thank you so much. And obviously that was your big up there.
Cool.
So earlier you spoke a little bit about, being a producer. You're essentially the sat nav. So there's a question which kind of leads into the question that I was going to ask anyway about, what do you do when your presenter or when your show is kind of going the wrong direction? How do you kind of bring it back? So I thought of some scenarios, but before I go into my scenario, there is actually a scenario that came through in the question, and here we go. Hi. How do you guys manage live freestyles in the studio in case an artist offends your Ofcom license terms? So there you go. It's gone the wrong way. How do you recalculate?
Okay, because I used to I've produced hip hop shows, grime shows, so yeah, I'm used to the the live freestyle moments. All right. One option is not to do it live. I produced Charlie Sloth, a lot of the Fire in the Booth from probably a few years, when was that? 4 years ago. I produced his Saturday night show. So I did a lot of the Fire in the Booth freestyles, and they're pre-recorded. So I'm aware, like, when you get an artist to come in and to express themselves creatively, I don't particularly want to give them a list of rules because it's going to kind of restrict their performance, and they're going to be thinking more about what they can't do and less about actually performing and expressing themselves. So one option is not to do it live, and you just record it in advance, and then you can edit out anything that needs to be edited out. When it comes to live stuff, again, you've got to manage the risk. So if an artist is known for swearing and in their lyrics anyway, getting them to freestyle is a high risk situation. So if you do invite them in to do a freestyle, know that there's likelihood they're going to swear. And I'm not sure if it's I personally would question whether it's worth inviting someone in who's likely to say something you don't want to be broadcast. What you can do is have, and what I have done is have conversations with artists well in advance, letting them know, look, I want you to do a freestyle on air. Are you able to deliver a verse without any swearing? And just ask them honestly, and see what response you get. I have been in situations where it's what you want to like consider a freestyle, where we wanted artists to perform or rap live on air, but I've got them to rehearse their verse off air just before they go live on air. So I've had it where I did a show with Charlie Sloth in a community centre in Cardiff, and we had local like MCs, not very experienced, wanting to spit live on air, and Charlie wanted to support them. So what I did was I told them, look, these are the rules about what you can't say on air. And before you go on air, you have to spit the verse off air to my assistant producer. They just need to hear all your lyrics. And when you come on air, you have to deliver the same verse. And that worked. So we got them to spit it off air. We knew what was in their verses, if there was anything that was a potential problem. And then on air, we let them deliver that same verse. But, you know, I had my finger ready on the faders to kill the mic. As soon as, again, I spoke to Charlie. It's about having a plan. I spoke to Charlie saying, look, on air, you have to tell them what the rules are, so everyone can be clear. And then if the first person that swears, this is all over. So we had a plan. So at the very worst, there'll be like one moment of swearing and it'll be done. So it's about managing the risk and putting things in place to minimize the chances of stuff going on air that you don't want to go on air. But you have to be realistic with the artists that you're working with. It's like, why risk it if you know it's really unlikely to come off? And are you going to be like restricting artists in their performance if you're telling them or giving them a list of words they can't say? No one wins. They don't win. It sounds terrible on air. The audience don't like it. So there's no point in it.
Yeah. Very good one. Yeah, you got a little thank you there. Good advice. So another scenario for you is, how about similar to having a guest, if you were to have like a call-in session, and again, you can't control, or the person, what they say is maybe offensive, or how do you respond in that situation?
Again, part of this is planning. It's like before we bring any caller onto air, we brief them and say, no swearing. There are other things like around like elections where we have to be impartial, and so we can't have people telling people to vote one way or another. So we brief callers before they go to air, and then there's only so much you can do to kind of tell your callers what you expect them and what you don't expect of them. And then if something bad does happen on air, you've got to be able to apologize and move on. So it's about what can you do beforehand to reduce the chance of it happening, and then if it does happen on air, knowing what to do to minimize the chance of you causing offense to people that are tuned in.
Yes. Okay. Cool. Thank you. Because I always wonder, even as a presenter, then, or if you're producing a show and you're not even the one who's presenting it, like, you know, that kind of
what happens? There's a funny sign language situation that happens on air often. So you'll have a situation where someone says something and you have to develop a way of, whether it's having, I used to handwrite stuff and hold up a sign where it's like swearing, apologize, or offensive to this group, can't say that, apologize. So, and you fight, you know, because what will happen is someone will say something, your presenter will then look at the producer thinking, did they say what I think they said? And then, because they heard it, but they want you to tell them to sort it out. And then you then have to kind of direct them what to do. So there's lots of hand signals, lots of this, lots of writing and passing of notes. but it's worth, as a producer, establishing with your presenter a way of communicating when the mics are open about what to do when things go wrong. Mm-hmm. So again, that's part of the preparation. It could be a simple hand signal or waving your mobile in the air or something, which means a particular thing, and they need to react in a certain way.
Just a question about that, actually. So when you are producing a show, do you sit inside the room of your presenter?
Different radio stations are set up in different ways. Our One Extra, Radio One, it's different now because of quarantine and coronavirus situation, where now it's just the presenters generally in the studios because people have to social distance. But normally, as a producer, you're in the studio with the presenter. So while tunes are playing, you can have that conversation about what's supposed to happen during the next link. And so part of, that'll be part of the planning. So if the plan is to get some callers up after a track, that's an opportunity to remind them, if anything goes wrong, I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. and you can, I'll give you further direction.
Okay. So another scenario, we briefly speak about this, and now this has happened to me personally. What happens if, for any reason, you've got a presenter you've got a guest who's coming into your show, and either A, they don't make it, 2, they're late, or like anything happens that like causes them like a delay? How do you handle that? By the way, guys, anyone in the comments, if you have another scenario or anything that you want me to ask, then remember to ask your questions in the comment box.
Again, part of it is, it's kind of like if you're going out on a date with someone and you got tickets to a movie, it's like, how do you make sure they turn up in time so you don't miss the movie? And you got to kind of work out, have they got a track record for always being late? Do I need to give them a fake time? Or do I need to just tell them be here like an hour before I really need them to be here? Because I know they're going to be late. It's like you got to kind of work out a strategy. And also, who actually will be getting them to the station? So there are lots of things to consider. It's like, what's their reputation? Are they normally late? If they're normally late, who do I need to speak to in their camp to get a sense of whether they will turn up or not, whether they really care or not? Could be the manager, could be their plus one who's always lingering. But you need that connect to have an honest conversation of what's the likelihood? Are they busy? Have they got other priorities? Are they going to be traveling back from another part of the country? How are they coming? Are they driving? Because then there's a traffic thing of people never giving enough time or believing what their sat nav tells them, and then, oh, it's rush hour, surprise, there's traffic, they're delayed. So there's that aspect of it. There's what I used to do when I produced the One Extra Breakfast Show, is make sure guests were in a good 45 minutes before they're due to come on air. So then there's that buffer. And also positioning the guests in the show to the point where early enough so that if they are late, there's still an opportunity to get them on the show. So, and then even before that, you've got to consider, is it worth announcing beforehand this person's going to be on the show? So say Beyonce DMs you right now saying, yeah, I'm going to be on the show tomorrow. It's like, I would love to promote this, but there's a big possibility this won't happen.
Yeah.
And then and you've got to work out, is it worth the risk of promoting something which might not happen? Or is it better once they're in the building or know it's definitely happening to then promote it on air? So the different ways you can kind of sort of approach. Again, it's about minimizing. What can you do to minimize the risk of someone not turning up? Because, I've had it. Everyone's had it. I've had guests turn up as the show's ending, expecting to, I can't just go on the next show. It's like, it doesn't work like that. So, yeah, you've got to just plan ahead and give yourself other options should they be delayed. Again,
Okay.
if they're late, maybe, and it's, can't happen, maybe pre-record it after your show's ended to go out the next day, or reschedule. You just got to think of different options.
Thank you so much. Again, so many practical tips. Like, I would have never thought about, like, even when I choose to invite my guest, I would have never thought about that. Honestly, like, that's a really good point that you made, that, you might be able to fit them in after. Like, have you considered that? But I like your date analogy. Any experience with a late date?
No, but what happens is you learn the first time. That
Yeah.
day, the day you book that table at Gaucho's or some expensive restaurant, and it's like you're there alone. But I think the thing to realize is, and again, this is about treating your show with respect and being professional, is that you got to let guests know that you take your show seriously. And so if they commit to something, you're expecting it to happen. Because what can happen is you're approaching them feeling grateful that they're turning up for you.
Yeah.
And what you've got to remember is you're providing a platform for guests to connect with more fans and help them with their careers and help them make more money for them. So they need to respect your platform. Because I've had times where guests turn up late and I'm just like, they're there and I've turned them away. Like, no, you missed your time. There's that kind of like, there can be that pressure to be flexible, which I get, but also people can't be taking liberties. Otherwise, they'll do it all the time.
Yeah.
Without any consequences happening, and you just set yourself up for the word will travel. They don't really care when you turn up. You can turn up when you want, and then everyone will be acting the same way.
Same way, yeah. I feel like as you've been speaking, one thing I really picked up is that setting a standard. So somebody has come in late and has asked a question that we have answered, but I feel like here it is. Like, I feel like one answer that you've got, that you've said consistently throughout, is when we first started, you said about, taking your hobby seriously, being good at what you're doing. And I feel like even now what you're talking about respecting your show, it's just kind of like holding that standard constantly. And I think that will constantly help you in everything that you do. If you maintain a high standard, if you're just doing something that's a hobby, treat it with respect. If you're like producing a show in your bedroom, treat that with respect. Remember that this might be more. You might be getting a skill from this. It might be something that you might show to somebody else and they might respect it, and your show might become bigger someday. And respect what you're doing. So I really like that.
Cool. Yeah, and I think it's professionalism. Like, people are watching what you do and how you act and how you move, and they may not tell you about what they've seen you do, but they'll make decisions about you and your career based on the way they see you act and the way they see you handle situations. So like I like, even when we started this chat, I saw who was here and who wasn't here. I see people come in. So I know Ben Johns was in early and Whitley Ruchier. So for me, it's like, oh, these are the serious ones. The people that are in early are the serious ones. So everything you do is a reflection of how seriously you take what you're doing. And people will judge you based on that. And that's, it's just worth being mindful of that everything you do is a representation of you, and you don't know who's watching or listening. So the people that want those opportunities at big stations, for people from those stations might actually be listening to your radio show or your previous shows. Will they have liked what they heard based on your last show? So I snoop on other radio shows and check out presenters when they're not, I don't tell them in advance, hey, I'm going to be tuning into your show tonight. I just tune in. With artists, I'll turn up at gigs and they'll be like, oh, why don't you tell me you're coming? Because I wanted to see what you're like when you didn't know I was here.
To answer that, that's all I've got. Somebody just said, taking the notes, and that's precisely what's going on right now. This is the truth. Taking the notes. Okay. I feel like actually I don't have this question written down, but it's probably coming from what you're saying, so let's say if you feel like you have made a bad impression, or, you know, how do you, if you know somebody or you don't know how to make them connections, you know, we had a question in the box earlier about how to make the connection, particularly if you're from Manchester and you're in London. You've already said one about treating your show with respect because you never know who's listening. How do you get the attention of, like, you know, I guess London? And maybe if you've had a bad experience, how do you turn that around? 2 questions in one there.
I get the London thing. It's like, why do you want the attention of London? Like, what is it? Because again, I understand, like, London is the centre of a lot of opportunities and a lot of kind of businesses and organisations that can help. But what I often get concerned about is people seeking validation from people they don't necessarily need to. If your community backs you, it doesn't really matter what I think. And what will happen is, if your community supports you, I'll come to you because I see what impact you have and what fan base and support base you've built around what you do in your area. And I'll need you rather than you approaching me thinking you need me. So I understand how people want or see London as something they need to crack, or something where they need to kind of get the respect of those decision makers. And yeah, there are lots of opportunities in London, but nothing supports you more than your support base at home. And it's easier to build a support base locally than to do it with the people that are 100 miles away. I think people undervalue the people around them. And they want to, I guess, people are looking for a quick way to succeed and thinking that if I just get the right person to co-sign me, that my dreams will be made. And that's not necessarily true. So I say start locally, and that then becomes a big training ground. You can try, you can fail, there's less pressure, but also you're building something that's truer to what you stand for and the community that you actually are part of, and then build out from there. Start from your region, start from your town to your city, to broaden it out, and then you'll be known for repping the people in your community and surrounding areas. And then what happens is, if you do want to make that approach to the people in London or other areas, is you're approaching as the person that represents this region, rather than just another person amongst all the other hundreds of people trying to be picked as the one that gets the golden ticket. When it comes to, I guess, rebuilding reputation or bad first impressions, all you can do is build a new track record. Like, if you flop, you're gonna have to work hard to prove that was not that is not your default setting. That's not how you roll normally, and it will take time. If you start with a blip, it might take 10 times of you doing things well for people to actually think, oh, that was a blip. You don't just have to do one bad thing and then, oh, I've done something good, so we're evens now. It doesn't work like that. Like, again, back to a bad first date. On the second date, you'll be like cool with them, but still thinking, giving them the side eye. It might take 4 or 5 before you're thinking, they're not that bad actually. I'm glad I didn't write them off on the first date.
Yeah.
But you've got to prove that was the anomaly, and that's not you normally.
Love that. Again, really practical advice. I'm really, really enjoying it. You know, the saddest thing about being the one who's hosting it is, like, I can't be scribbling down notes and things like that. So guys, if you are at home and you have this opportunity to be in your room with your notepad, make the most of this experience. I'm gonna have to watch it back and be writing down. So you got a question that I think fits in at this point. It's from Polly. It says, do you think it's important to build a personal brand online with production, or is that more important for presenting?
I mean, online provides a platform for you to have that public portfolio of your work. I guess it depends what your ambition is. In production, it's less about how many followers you've got. It's more about what skills can you bring to the table. So it's less about there being this public body of work for you to say, check out the stuff I've created. That's not to say you shouldn't do it, because it's often these platforms, whether it's SoundCloud, Mixcloud, whatever, it gives you an opportunity for people outside, people who aren't your friends, people who aren't your family, to check out your stuff and give you feedback. So there's value in making your stuff public and getting that different perspectives on the content that you make. With presenting, there is that, I guess, there's the kind of presenting skills which you need to develop, but there is also that sense of needing to have a brand that means something to enough people for other people to be interested in bringing you into their organization. So that brand, again, it's like, does it, I suppose for your personal brand to gain the size and power that would attract radio stations or other brands to like want to sponsor you or whatever, you need to publicly be seen to represent something. And so yes, for presenters, it is more important for you to, well, it's easier for you to build a fan base and support base if you are public about what you represent and pursue it openly with the general public. But from a production point of view, apart from getting feedback on the content that you make, I don't think it's particularly necessary for you to be out here on Instagram, IGTV, as you're editing some bit of audio, or, you know, I'm not sure how exciting that'll be to watch. Who knows?
Yes.
That might be a new idea that actually like delivers results. But who knows?
Okay, so just on that, it's a good way to segue into the next question. You spoke about, okay, so for all those producers, of which this is a producer in Masterclass, so you spoke about skills being really, really important. How have you, over the years, kind of improved on your skills? What is a good way of actively kind of continuing to learn? Do you YouTube things? What do you do?
I think I was lucky in like, I've been at One Extra since it launched in 2002, and I've moved around shows really frequently. So when I was assistant producer and as a producer, the most I spent on any show was probably like 18 months. So what happens is, as you move to different shows have different demands, and different presenters have different strengths and weaknesses. So each show provides its own challenge and stretched me in a different way. So I've produced daytime shows, specialist music shows, speech-based shows. I've made documentaries, podcasts. So whether it's the format, whether it's the style of show, whether it's the platform in which that content lives, the different scenarios have forced me to think about making content in a different way. So there's that on-the-job kind of experience that you get. And the more you do things, the more you develop an ear, or from succeeding at things and things not going well, you get an understanding of what's a likely outcome of approaching something in this way. And how, you know, I've been through the downsides of trying to do this idea before, so how can I avoid it the next time? You know, they say good judgment comes from experience, but experience comes from poor judgment. So you have to kind of go through that process of making mistakes to learn how not to do stuff. And from working with different people who have different approaches to making radio shows, you see the pros and cons of stuff. So outside of learning on the job, I have gone on training courses. I read a lot. So again, it's about sharpening your skills. And, you know, I was always aware that there are always going to be new people coming into the industry and into the stations I work with, acting like they're the new hot thing. Like, I've got the new skills, I know the new hot new music. And I've always had that competitive kind of spirit where I've got to make sure I stay sharp so I don't feel threatened by whoever's coming in. So I always have to kind of sharpen my tools, enhance what I've got, read, do training courses, online courses I do, and just try and stay on point. Especially now because, you know, I'm not in the target audience sort of age range for my station. So when I first started, when I was thinking about stuff that we do on the radio, I'd think about what would I like, or people like me, or my friends like. But as I've grown older, I have to actively research what young people are into. So I'll ask the young people in the office. I'll listen to conversations on the bus or on the tube. I'm checking out the platforms that don't necessarily interest me, but I know young people are interested in, so that I can stay up to speed and know what young people are interested in. And so for me, it's about continually staying up to date, and being across all the developments and new platforms and new approaches and new styles and new trends. But for me, it's like continual sort of learning.
Yeah, that's very, very important, to be honest, because I think sometimes it can be, I mean, I think I'm young, but it can even still be hard sometimes because you're not interested, no one is interested in everything. So it can even still be hard to, let's say you're not really into dancing, for example, but TikTok has happened and you've got to like jump into TikTok and start like kind of like learning around TikTok. It can be hard to kind of like stay on top of that. But I think it's a very important thing to have, because like, when I listen to shows, I always wonder, how do you stay trending? Even how do you know what topics to cover? So that's a question. How do you guys cover, like, One Extra always seems so relevant, and so topical. How do you do that?
You know, for me, I've always, you know, the things that have inspired me, or the way I've come up with ideas for the shows, is when I'm not at work. So it's as soon as I leave the building, like, I'll know what's hot. I used to know what's hot musically by what people were playing in their cars. It's like, okay, I'm hearing this tune, or young people playing it on their mobile phones. It's like, okay, this is actually connecting. And similarly with talking points, it's like, what are people actually talking about? What are the conversations that are going on social media? What are the conversations that are going on road? And is there a new angle or a new way of tackling those issues? So a lot of it is about listening, and being inquisitive. So like when I was producer of the Breakfast Show, we had access to all like the station's social media. So what I would do is just randomly go through followers on Twitter and look at their timelines to see what are our listeners actually talking to their friends about. Like I know what the new hot record is that's just being released, but actually, is there something actually going on with our audience that they care about more? So it's always having that kind of reality check of, yeah, I'm working at a radio station, but in reality, most people have more important things to worry about than some new tune that some new artist is playing. There might be, whether it's what's happened in EastEnders last night, a football match that's planned for tomorrow. It could be some drama down the road and then the high street. It could be, I don't know, KFC running out of chicken. It could be anything. But it's like, what are the things that actually people are caring about and talking about right now? It's finding them and finding clever ways of reflecting them on air.
Okay, love it. Great. Again, and like, I'm just gonna keep calling you great, to be honest. I'm just gonna keep telling you that you're great, because all the tips, to be honest, I'm literally like, they're causing me to reflect about the work I do. I'm already starting to think visually, like, you're giving such good tips, and thinking about how, yeah, that's true. You know, you do think about, oh yeah, everyone's talking about this, or this is happening, and then the next step is just to reflect that on air. So again, really, really useful tips. Staying talking about skills. This question came on earlier from DJ Harvey, which is, how do you find the transition from DJing to clubs and then to radio? Was it hard to adapt from DJing to a physical audience or to a virtual one?
It's weird, yeah, because I remember when I did student radio, it was a weird feeling sitting in a room. I had a friend with me. It's just you two in a room. From why are you making that transition from club to radio? as a DJ? Are you doing it for what you get or for what the audience gets? Are you doing it because I am a DJ and I need to be seen on TV on the radio? Or are you really a champion of the music that you love and want to broadcast it to as many people as possible? Because I think your intent will actually drive the way you approach it and get you out through the discomfort of not having the crowd right there to respond and react to. So the club DJ thing, yeah, it's a different kind of interaction. And when it comes to DJing on the radio, you won't get that immediate feedback, but the role is actually slightly different. You are more storytelling, you're more showcasing than in a nightclub. In a nightclub, there is a easier, quicker sort of give and take relationship of energy with the audience. And through just playing music on the radio, unless you're constantly on your phone looking for what's happening on social media, who's responding to you, it's a different role you've got. Your job is to actually showcase the music that you love in the best possible way to make it sound exciting for the people listening at home, knowing that they may not actually respond to you so you can see. It's like, I can't think of the last. It's like when you watch TV, you're not thinking, "Oh, I must text that presenter on TV and tell them they're doing a good job." It's like the thought doesn't come into your mind like always when you're listening to the radio. The people listening to the radio are doing it, have it on as background to accompany some other activity. They might be doing work. They might be cooking. They're not gonna think, "Oh, I must let the DJ know that tune sounds good." So, as a DJ playing music on the radio, the role is, how do I showcase this music in the best possible way? And some of that might be by your DJing skills, but some of it will also be about how you choose to talk about the music and the artists that you're trying to showcase. And you should focus on what's the best way to celebrate this music that I love. And what, if I need to, in order for me to do this music justice, I'm gonna have to develop my ability to talk, explain, share knowledge about this music. And I remember when I first started doing radio, and it feels a bit weird talking on air when I was used to just getting a reaction from playing tunes, and it's like, oh, this is a bit weird. Just worry about every word you say. But I guess my head wasn't in the fully in. This is a job that I need to do where I need people to know how important this music is. And so, if I had that mentality, I probably would have been a bit more confident in the way I was talking about my music. So, club DJs getting into radio, be clear about why you're doing it and know that you have a crucial role to play in making the music that you support in the clubs reach as big an audience as possible. And that comes not only from your DJing skills, but also your presenting skills. So you should look to develop both.
Love that. DJ Harvey himself has actually said, that's a really good shout. And he also said, never really thought of it like that. So thank you for that question. You've got another one. It says, I honestly feel like a lot of this information has been so valuable. Thank you, Dari and Pi Radio, for setting this up. You're most welcome. About skills, again, staying on the topic of skills, I had another question about rapport. As a producer, you guys bringing a lot of guests to the studio, and sometimes, like you said earlier, you once used to produce Charlie Sloth's show, and then you change who you produce. How do you maintain and keep building like that rapport when you introduce to a new presenter, for example, when you are working? How do you do that?
I guess it's a skill you develop. I've worked with so many presenters that there's kind of you get used to the kind of pattern of, okay, the first bit is getting to know each other as individuals, is getting to know, as a producer, what drives or motivates the presenter, what do they really care about, what do they like doing, what they don't like doing, what are they good at, what are they bad at. And then it's what is the show about and what's the purpose of the show. And then it's working out and negotiating with the presenter the best way to approach making that show. And it's the same process with each presenter I've worked with that you go through, and you find a way to make it work. it's like a kind of arranged marriage that you have to make work. If you approach it right, you might just think, I do it my way or the highway. And that, you know, I've seen producers who've had success believe that because they've had that success, they can just use that same approach with whichever presenter they work with, and the presenter's got to adapt to them. Then it becomes a game of chicken of who bends first, which again, for me, isn't necessarily the best way to set up a working relationship. So as a producer, I see it as your facilitator. It's like, how do you play to a presenter's strengths to help live the show that your station needs? And, you know, it's different in every scenario for what that end result will be.
Love that. Again, arranged marriage, yeah. You've got to make it work. There's a question that's come up through the application, so I'm going to read it. It's similar. So this time it's just, oh, I've lost it, but it's, yeah. What steps are needed to understand an artist or a brand? So I guess as a producer again, this time not with your presenter, how do you kind of understand your artist or your brand?
I'm not quite sure exactly what you mean. What do you mean?
Well,
what kind of brand are you talking about?
This is not my question. This is a question from the application form, but I'm going to guess the way I've read it. I'm going to guess the way I've read it is a brand. Maybe a personality that's coming onto the show, for example. Maybe they've got a brand. Maybe in this day and age, maybe an influencer. And you've invited them into the show. It says, how do you understand them?
I mean, again, a lot of it's like the research to do beforehand. Like, I'm not going to invite someone onto a show where I don't understand what they're about or what they represent. So a lot of it's from having conversations with the guests themselves before you book them to get a sense of who they are, what they're about, and what they're trying to represent, and what they want to use your platform to do. And then assessing if that fits with what your show, your station, what your DJ is about, and whether that's a good fit. Because what you can do is book someone who's popular just because they're popular. When the things their brand stands for doesn't necessarily gel well with what your presenter stands for or what your station stands for. So I guess it's about making sure that the two complement each other, so that as a listener, it makes sense. You know, whether, you know, it's does the musical direction of the artist fit well with the direction or the music that the station is supposed to represent, or that show is supposed to represent? Or do the attitudes that artists have or that they've expressed publicly, do they sit well with what the DJ represents? Because that could make for an awkward on-air conversation if, yeah, the DJ loves the artist, but the things that the guy's been posting on social media run directly against what the DJ stands for.
Yeah, didn't think of that. That's yeah, could really make some awkward conversation actually. So yeah, that's really important. So moving on away from skills now, we're thinking about, okay, in this day and age, how would one go about showing, or how would one go about producing a good show? So for a lot of people, maybe they don't have the equipment. There's a lot of podcasts coming out, and really maybe someone just has like a mic, you know, doesn't really have the best kind of setup. Do you have any advice for any kind of like DIY home setup, entry level, affordable, good producing skills? Like,
I mean, what I've learned is actually what has made me be a good producer is that I grew up listening to a lot of radio and different kinds of radio. So I grew up, my mum used to listen to radio too. So I heard like respected and experienced broadcasters communicate well with a national audience. I listened to, like, growing up, I didn't listen to a lot of radio because I had my music collection, but I listened to specialist radio shows in the evening on local radio stations. So I'd hear how DJs would hype up a track or how they interview artists and get the best out of the guest. And I also listened to a lot like a speech-based sort of like discussion, talk radio. So I saw how or heard how presenters can spark debate, get audiences involved in a discussion, and I often used to marvel at how like presenters at the start of the show could talk for like 10 minutes straight, no music underneath them, without umming, ahhing, keeping you engaged. So I'm used to hearing. I grew up listening to high quality broadcasters regularly. So when it comes to producing shows, I kind of have in my head an idea of what I want things to sound like and what elements make up a good radio show. And I suppose the more you can learn about the approaches that other people use to make their shows, you can then use it when it comes to putting together your own content. So listen to a lot of radio and listen to different types of radio to see the structure of shows, when things happen, how that makes you feel as a listener, what things turned you off, what things got you excited, what things got you bored, what things could they have done to change that. And you then get a sense of how things, the choices you make in when to talk, how long to talk, the way you talk, what music to play, what order, how you talk about music, when you plug guests, how to intro the news and not to make it sound like something that's completely random. You start to get an appreciation for the techniques and devices that presenters use, and how shows are structured to make it an easy and exciting listen that makes you stay tuned in. When you're what I often do listening to radio is wait for that moment where I'm bored and think, okay, why am I tuning off now? Is it I don't like the tune that's playing now? Because what can happen is if a presenter has left a cliffhanger or I don't know, built some anticipation of something that's about to happen, I'll stay on listening past a bad tune or a tune I hate because there's something that I'm waiting for on the other side. So even things like that, you get a sense of the things that can be done in the show to keep people excited, to build anticipation, to create suspense, to keep people tuned in past when their musical taste might make them want to change the channel. So listen to a lot of radio and then try it out. Make things, and the thing is to again listen back to it as a listener. So often, even with stuff I've edited, is leaving it to the next day to listen back with fresh ears, so I get a kind of more objective listen. It's easier for me to hear bits which don't work or bits that can't, which can be improved. So it's just about, again, that it's that time that you dedicate to practicing, learning, studying. Music producers will listen to other types of music and work out how other producers or artists created a certain sound or certain feeling from the instruments, and then try and duplicate it and remake the song themselves. So you can use that same kind of approach to radio. And even if you've got limited software or technical stuff, it's amazing what emotions and feelings you can deliver with even basic technology. It's not necessarily about the tools and tricks you have, it's about the way you use them to create a feeling.
Thank you for the answer. Listening to radio, gosh, that reminds me of when I was at university. I used to have to listen and watching like literally every assignment was like we had to watch, like they'll just basically give you like a watch list and it'll be like different things, like things that I basically didn't really care about. But then it's so funny that now maybe when I'm thinking of something or when I'm at work, how funny that plays a part. You remember like, oh yeah, they did this on this show one time, I once heard this. And I think it's important not to kind of underestimate the kind of things that we take in every day, what you've been listening to, what you're inspired by, or even what you don't like. It's really important. There's another question here that I think ties in nicely. It is there a difference between a producer and a music programmer?
Yeah. I think the differences in job titles and roles based on different radio stations. Music programmers are normally the people that decide the kind of playlist and the order of music that gets played in the show. Now, depending on the format of the show, like with daytime shows at One Extra, we've got like a playlist, a music team that puts together the One Extra's playlist and schedules the music in the daytime shows. When it comes to the evening shows, there is no playlist. It's DJs that are kind of curating their own sort of selection of music. And as a producer, you're more involved in conversations with the presenters about what tunes should be played. So I produced DJ Target, MistaJam, when there was specialist shows, and when it's a case of their job was to showcase the best and most exciting new music from the scene. I Part of my job as producer was to make sure we did that on a day-to-day basis, and part of that is making suggestions about what tracks should be played, because I would be sent as a producer tracks from labels, managers, artists, and be part of that decision-making process about what tunes are worthy of getting played on air. So music programming becomes a part of shows, a part of the job of a producer when the show they're working on isn't playlisted, and they're then responsible for the music that's played on the show. For mainstream daytime shows, it's often not about music programming, it's more about speech programming around the music.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Two questions that have come in that I think are really interesting, that are kind of around the same vibe. So the first one is here in these comments, and it is by Ben Johns, and he says, "What's the best bit of radio that you've listened to recently? Yasmin and Clara Amfo on Black Lives Matter was so powerful." And the second question, bear with me, sorry, is with the Black Lives Matter movement, how easy or difficult is it for you to, as a producer, to produce a show around this or around sensitive topic like rape, suicide, or do you normally just leave it to an expert? So to kind of like on the Black Lives Matter.
Well, it's difficult to identify like the best bits of radio because it's like I'm swimming in it on a daily basis and plucking out one bit. Do you know what happens? When I'm surprised by something that happens on air or excited, those are the moments that stick out to me. And I guess when you're working in production, you're kind of seeing the strings as they're pulled. You're part of that production process. So I'm not listening to things as a listener. And a part of my job is really staying across a lot of the One Extra broadcast. So it's a weird relationship. I'm not listening just as a listener. I'm aware of what's gone in to create what's just happened on air. So it's difficult for me to pick out a big bit that stands out as the best. But I think when it comes to challenging content, like the stuff like Black Lives Matter, again, it goes back to does the audience care? If they do care, what do they want? What will they appreciate? What are they expecting? How can we support them, reflect their thoughts and opinions, share a common sort of like feeling, connect with people and make them feel that it's not just them that feels a certain way or see things a certain way. Those are what challenging moments and big moments in society. That's where radio has a crucial role. We're in this kind of pandemic situation which has caused people to feel isolated, scared, slightly detached from family, friends, and their communities. And so, what radio can do is provide that sense of community, a sense of letting people know it's not just them, we're going through it too. And that's where radio, when it's these serious moments or serious content, that's where radio has real power. Like a streaming playlist can't give you that personal connection with a real human who's had life experience and has, concerns, worries, and insecurities like everyone else. So when you're dealing with tough subject matter, it's about making it relatable. So it's not about clickbait. It's about what's the themes in these subjects which are universal and which everyone can relate to.
Yeah.
You know, it's going deeper into the specifics of certain situations or certain life stories which people can relate to, and create a forum for people to discuss those common threads, because that's how you know, radio can be used as a force or unifying force for people during challenging times. Yeah. Because it identifies the things that in your life that are comparable to the person you hear through the speaker, and make you realize that you aren't alone, and that there are other people that are experiencing the same things or have the same perspective of the issue as you do. And that together, we through that conversation or discussion, or just by listening, you can feel less alone and perhaps more optimistic about the future.
Poetic, to be honest. That was great. Guys, I'm just loving some of these questions. They're absolutely great. We've kind of gone past that 1 hour and a half. So guys, keep your questions coming. We're going to do like at the end, I'll just be firing questions that everyone else is asking. So keep them coming. Ben, I also just want to touch on that. I enjoyed Clara Amvo and Yasmin, and I also enjoyed DJ Ace on Black Lives Matter. It was great, and I think everything that you're describing right now, I feel like, yeah, it was done. As a listener now, your response has made me kind of think about, what do I enjoy as a listener, you know, and how can that translate to my radio shows or radio? Because actually, yeah, what I enjoyed that day was feeling a part of something, feeling less alone. You're right. Which ties into this year. I know you already started to answer it, but somebody asked, what do you think are the most effective ways of making a radio show appeal to a broad target audience as possible, to as much of a broad audience as possible? I know you kind of touched on that, but I don't know if you want to extend that further.
I think there's always that damage of trying to get, or that challenge of getting as big an audience as possible for what you do. And that doesn't necessarily mean being broad. It could actually be very narrow and niche, and just identifying the people across the globe that are into that narrow and niche thing. You don't always have to build an audience by broadening or diluting or, you know, spreading out what you do. And again, going back to you as a consumer, you as a listener, what are the things that excite you? And the reality is, you know, people are interested in new things. So what are you doing that's original? Because if what you're doing is already out there and someone else is doing it, why would a load of people be interested in what you're doing? If you're just duplicating someone else's kind of style or format, you're not bringing anything new to the game. There's that sense of desirability about what you're doing. Is there a demand for what you're doing? It may be original, but if no one cares about it, there's going to be a limit to how much of a fan base you're going to build around it. There's the sort of authenticity element where it's about being true to yourself and being relatable and real. And that's something that people identify and can tap into. And that's, you know, a foundation that you can build on, and the audience relies on, you know, the people they follow to have that level of realness and authenticity. So are you willing to be authentic? And if you are having a bad day, are you able to be open enough to express that in some way with your audience? Or are you faking? Are you go into presenter mode? Is it everything kind of like a performance as opposed to, are you just living and happen to be on the air as you're kind of expressing your life. And then there's a kind of like innovation thing of like with what you're doing, how you doing something clever, inventive or new, whether it's format, whether it's style, whether it's the approach you're taking. So those are kind of areas which increase the chance of people caring about what you do, and separating yourself from stuff that's already existing. And once you have a product that is actually valuable, that is of use to the audience, then they'll use it and be passionate about it and talk about it on your behalf. And then your followers become your street team, and they become passionate about you and want to tell their friends about this, and then their friends get brought in. So again, it's that same process of building a following, there is no magic formula, otherwise everyone would be using it. But it's how can I create something that's of value, of use to people, that makes them excited and want to talk to other people about what I do.
Nice question. Nice answer there. You've got a lot of thank yous. Thank you so much to everyone at One Extra at the BBC for the vibes, good vibes over these past months.
Cool. Appreciate it.
And I like what you were talking about there, because I feel like often a lot of the questions that have come through have literally been about, which is, I know everybody wants to get a job, or that's kind of like, the end goal, I guess, making money. But I think what you've said that's been really, really interesting is just thinking about it the other way. So instead of just thinking about clout, followers, like how to get there really quickly, how does, mastering what you're doing in your area or with your people, just that niche kind of topic, what you like doing, staying true, staying authentic, working really hard, setting that standard, how that then actually attracts more people, and then that leads to getting a job. So I was just going to actually ask, how do you then get a job with all this stuff? But if you feel like you want to add anything else, then please do.
I think for me, a lot of things stem back to why are you doing what you're doing? What is the motivation behind being a presenter or wanting to get into radio production? And I think a lot of it, you've got to really be honest with yourself about what you want. Is it fame? Is it fortune? Is it attention? Just be honest. If it's attention, there's simpler things you can do to get attention, like go on Love Island or whatever. It's like, it's like really understand what drives and motivates you, and then find the quickest route to it. Because in radio, I see a lot of people wanting to get into radio because of what they think the platform can give them. And so their approach runs actually directly against the things you need to do in order to have most appeal to a wide audience. If you focus on the audience and them, they're more likely to be interested in you. So, and if it's about being popular, I think, social media makes it it's fun trying to get people's attention on social media. And it's more fun trying to get Stormzy to retweet your message than to develop a talent which earns his respect. So it's about, do you want attention? Do you want respect? Do you want fun? Do you want money? Be really clear about what it is you want.
Yeah.
And focus on that. I think what happens is that everyone wants, I want all of it. And it's like, the more things you want in that list of fame, fortune, fun, respect, whatever, the more difficult it is. Because the reality is, most people in the world don't enjoy their work. They work so that they can earn money so they can live and have fun outside of work. So if, getting a chance to earn money doing something you enjoy is a rarity for most people. It's not common. And so it's not going to be easy to achieve that. And it's about, if you really want to be respected, it's how committed are you to that and what you're willing to be to do it. A lot of people are trying to make a killing and rather than make a living. And so they're looking for that get rich quick, or how do I get a certain amount of attention? How do I get followers? How do I get a job at One Extra? And it kind of highlights a need for them to be given a certain amount of attention, rather than thinking, what do I need to show? What do I need to give people in order to be in a position to get those things? So a lot of it's about perspective and how and being honest about really what you want and what you're willing to do in order to get it. Because I think with especially in the creative arts, people like being able to express themselves and their talents. And cool, that for me that's like a hobby mentality. It's like I enjoy it, so I do it. When it comes to wanting to get paid for it, you have to demonstrate that you are professional and deserve someone writing you a check for what you do. So there's a kind of higher level that you have to hold yourself to, because it's not just a fun thing. This is a fun thing, but I want you to pay me for it. So you've got to firstly be good at what you do, because why should someone pay for something just to keep you entertained? You actually need to actually provide a service that's of value, and you need to treat it as a business. If you are seeing this as a way of making money, you should be approaching it as such. Say I don't know, you wanted to start a little business making cakes or whatever at the weekend because you enjoy cooking. You can make cakes, cool, and people can say they're the greatest cakes in the world. But if you want that business to earn you a living, so you don't have to have another job, you have to focus on the business aspect of running that cake making business. So similarly, when it comes to broadcast, whether it's presenting or production, it's how do I present myself and show that I'm worth paying for? Simple.
Wise words. You say it's simple, but wise words. And I think in this generation, like me being a millennial, it's so easy to get caught up, like there's so much things left, right and center. And I think even if you might say like, okay, this is what I'm about, I'm doing this for this, it's so easy to just be sidetracked by, all my peers are doing this, or, that like peer, I don't want to call it peer pressure, but yeah, a little bit of like peer pressure, Instagram, social media is a crazy place. But I think that was very, very wise words. And again, practical tips, for everyone to get involved in. You got another thank you here. My mum is nagging me for tea, but this has been so valuable. Thank you so much. You're most welcome. So a question that came in, we're getting towards that wrapping up stage now, guys. So if you have any other questions that you feel like I've not covered, or there's something that you're really burning to ask Dari, do type it and I will ask it for you. But there's a question that came in, which I think that you put some value on this one. So as a 38-year-old, how can I be taken seriously breaking into the industry whilst maintaining my full-time role as family and commitments, etc.?
What makes you why wouldn't you be taken seriously? Because it's about showing that what you have to offer is the thing they need to focus on. Not
maybe they're wondering how to juggle. By the way, I know Ben has got to go, so I thought I'll read this quickly. He says, we'll catch up on the rest on YouTube, and Dari would love some advice in the future, if possible, please.
Yeah, holla. Just at me.
All right, cool. You can find Dari's details on the Pi Radio Instagram. So I think maybe from this person's question, maybe they're thinking, maybe, how do I juggle, for example? How do they juggle, maybe?
Again, it's about desire. I appreciate everyone's got other, lots of things going on and other commitments. So it's deciding how much time and energy you can commit to this radio thing, and then working smart with that time that you have. The age thing, it depends what kind of radio you're trying to get into. If you're a 38-year-old trying to get into youth radio, you have to find a way of showing that you're super in touch with what young people are into. So how do you do that? How can you show that your age is of no relevance. So I think you just have, again, it goes back to how do you show and build that track record of showing that you're good at what you do.
Yeah.
That's the best way of proving that you're worth being taken seriously. Lots of DJs are middle-aged, but they stay committed to supporting the music and broadcasting. So age is only a factor if you let it be a factor.
I knew you were going to come up with some bars. I knew you were going to come up with something poetic, something to end that. I knew, obviously, of course. Guys, it's like 1:45 now, and I think, Dari, you've been absolutely amazing. I've really enjoyed this conversation. I'm just going to send you some of these shout-outs, the thank yous that you've got. I really enjoyed this. See you at One Extra in the future. Love that. No, honestly... Oh, I've lost my guest.
You dropped it? Ooh.
Guys, I don't know what's happened. I'm going to try and get my guest back, or... I'm going to...
Come back before you lock off. This way they'll come back, so say goodbye properly.
Okay, no, I will do. I've got my helper in the studio, guys. I don't know what's just happened here. Oh, here we go. It's happening. Back, hold on. Hello.
Hello, I'm back. So what happened there?
I don't know what happened there either. Oh gosh, there's been so many technical difficulties, and that's another thing I've got to thank you for. Thank you for being so patient. Thank you for constantly trying to unplug and plugging in your headphones and just trying to get that sound crisp.
Cool.
It was really worth it for me. It's been amazing. Thank you so much.
Cool, no problem.
Okay, cool.
I guess, it's good to see that Pi Radio's like put on a masterclass like this, because I appreciate it's not always easy to navigate your way around radio and the radio industry. Like I say, a key, I think people to move forward in the industry, people need to be willing to ask for help and advice and seek out opportunities. And because really, ultimately, you are in control of your own destiny. If you're waiting for other people to give you an opportunity, you're giving them all the power. And the more you build for yourself, the better bargaining or leverage you have when those people come to you, what you need to be involved with them. You also got a bit more confidence because you know what you've been able to achieve on your own. So I'm really a strong believer in people investing in themselves, backing themselves and developing themselves. And, start in your house. Like, you should be sharing your content with your friends and family. And if they're the ones harassing you for your next bit of content, then you know that actually you might be good at it. And it's about building that fan base, that support base for what you do, so that you don't necessarily need a cosign by anyone else. Like, the tools, the platforms are there for you to build your own sort of media empires. And if you build a following independently, you don't necessarily need a big backer. But again, it's whether that interests you or whether you just want to be made a star. But know that it's very competitive. Everyone's trying, hoping to get picked and trying to get attention. So again, how to stand out from the rest is difficult if you're just another name, another face. If you're actually good at what you do, it's a more compelling case or reason for why people should invest in you and care about what you do. But yeah, ultimately, it's up to you. It's funny. I rarely get asked for advice, and I'm relatively easy to get hold of. So it's worth people investigating the people that work behind the scenes at organizations that you want to work at, because they're often the ones that have the experience and insight and knowing how the game works and can advise you on ways you can increase your chances of being successful. So again, it's about learning, doing your research, learning your craft, and hopefully I might come looking for you because I think what you do is good. So yeah, I hope it's been useful anyway.
No, it definitely has. You just got some more thank yous there. Thank you for this. And thank you for all your advice today. I think for me, the things that I could take away, well, everything obviously, but if I was to pinpoint my favorite thing that you kind of said all throughout the way is taking it seriously, and not waiting for, not waiting for big backer, like you said, or waiting for one extra. Thinking about, think about yourself. Think about, am I taking it seriously? What do I like? Make yourself this, not make yourself the center in that way, but, think about it from your point of view. Do you know what I mean? Like, what you're doing it for? Do you like what you listen to? And everything that you're doing, just kind of thinking and taking it seriously and maintaining that standard. And then, you will eventually have the right kind of attention. You're coming your way. So, yes, I've absolutely loved it. And it is 10 minutes too. So, oh, do you know what I'm saying? I'm saying the wrong time. I'm saying the wrong time. Do you know what I'm doing, guys? I'm looking at, it's 10 minutes to, until we're at 2 hours. Not actually the real time. Yeah. Gosh, such a classic Tanaka mistake there. But yeah, so thank you so much, Dari. We can say goodbye finally now, and I'm going to end the broadcast. Thank you for everyone who's tuned in, and this will be available on YouTube and on, Pi Radio YouTube. Thank you once again. Okay, I'm going to hand the mic, the mouse over to my helper.
Keep waving. Keep waving.